Folks, keep the feedback coming. Katie, this is a feedback show with no borders. We have listeners all across the world, and I know they want to participate. We have done a couple of interviews with Katie. So if you want more specific, her to speak specifically about the work, we have interviews. Check out empoweredlivingradio.com. The interviews are free for download. You can just search for Byron Katie. We've done, I believe, 2 other interviews with her, and I know that the last one we did with her, which was probably last year, we spoke 1 full hour specifically on the work, so you could check that out. I want to get to some feedback because, y'all, this is your show. So let's start. Let's go to Canada. Toronto, Canada, Jessica Relance. Katie, thank you for all you do to help others. It's difficult for me to embrace reality at times. I sometimes feel more pain facing the truth than ignoring it. I know this isn't helpful to me, but how can I build the courage to face the negative truths in my life?
Well, I would identify the story that is causing the suffering. In other words, if you're depressed, if you're sad, to just notice the story that's running in your head. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. Just notice it. And then begin to identify the concepts that are running that story and put them on paper. Like, he doesn't care about me. He'll never see it my way. She is so narrow-minded. On and on and on. And identify those concepts and put them on paper. And the instructions for that are at thework.com or in any of my books. And at thework.com, it's all free, too, and I love that. And on Steve's show, you can hear it all in that last interview.
And not only that,
and then
but
question them. Question those concepts with those 4 questions.
And also, while we were talking about thework.com, Katie's site, folks, there's a ton of stuff there, so definitely check out thework.com. Katie has so much stuff available for you to click on, specific issues. There's a community, there's forums, there's schools, there's event schedules, there's everything. It's a very, very user-friendly website. Also on YouTube, there's endless amount of Katie videos. Katie has really, really dedicated, and I have to say this again because it's something I admire about you. Katie has really, really dedicated herself to getting this information out there, and it's really paid off for so many people who have been touched by this magnificent miracle that is the work, and so check it out. You can even Google Byron Katie. You'll find tons of stuff. But her website is thework.com. And you know, and speaking with Jessica in Toronto's question, you're right. You know, finding out what that story, what that belief, what those thoughts are that are causing you to be afraid of the truth.
Just noticing them and putting them, bring them into the world, you know, out of the air and put them into the world. You know, self-realization until it is lived, it has no power. Bring it in, what we fear. Bring it in, put it on paper, and then, you know, stand solid with it, with these 4 questions, and open your heart and drop.
You know, and it's so true, and I bring this up. Sometimes, Katie, when we discuss fear on the show, I talk about how I know you travel a lot, I travel a lot, and you know we're okay with some time delays sometimes because you have to go through security checkpoints and all this stuff because everyone's afraid of terrorists.
Oh my God! I say my home is on Delta B5.
Right. So I tell people, you know, it's amazing that we all put up with that because we understand we don't want any terrorism. But we let these terrorist thoughts run through our mind, and those thoughts never have to go through a checkpoint. So I often say, similar to what Byron Katie would say, make those thoughts go through a checkpoint. Find out what's true. Face those thoughts, and when you start putting it to paper, you realize that most of that stuff is absolutely fictitious, that when you check the truth and validity behind that, they simply cannot survive that process. And
you know, it's so true, Steve, and they cannot survive means that when they hit your head, you laugh instead of fall into self-pity or dependency or any of the emotional negatives that you experience.
Right, how we respond to that same story we've been telling ourselves.
Yeah, so thoughts are not enemies. It's all been a misunderstanding, and thoughts are the cause of all of our suffering. The thoughts, the stressful thoughts that we're believing. There are many thoughts that bring such joy to our heart. They don't need work. They're working for us.
It's something that's amazing, folks, and I hope that you're seeing that we're experiencing a great blessing today in speaking with Katie. So thank you so much in Toronto, Canada, Jessica, for listening. Let's go to good old Lexington, Kentucky, Nate Jones. Let's see. Is the best way to get my wife to do the work to keep doing it myself?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I just can't say yes strongly enough there. If I think my husband needs the work, I need the work. In that moment, I need the work. And so eventually I attract my family into it, or they just begin to take it on. And, if I'm okay, they're okay. If I see them as not okay, I'm not okay. So that's what I have to take care of. And, you can always invite your partner, if they do not do the work, always invite your partner to write worksheet after worksheet. And those of you that don't know what it is, you can see that on my website, too, at no charge, and download them at no charge, no newsletter to sign up for. And you can invite them, just download and invite them to put every negative thing that they see about you on paper, and to read it to you, to invite them to read it to you. And then you can take the concepts that they're aiming at you and have them do the work with you. And in other words, turn it around. If I think they need the work, I need the work. So they can say, you are unfair. Maybe that's written on the worksheet. And then I can say to them, is it true? And they can say, yes, you are. And so we can facilitate them, and beautiful things come out of that because they get to win and you get to win.
And I would think that just like you had said earlier, that someone who embodies that truth and lives that truth can't help but attract people around them that also want the same thing. I'm often asked, how do you think the way you do? How are you able to stay upbeat? How are you able to do this? And I tell them, often it's not that I'm an upbeat person in general. It's that I'm not a pessimistic person. I'm not negative, because I do, I do a variation pretty much of the work, and just about anything I think of, I diagnose it and flip it around so that I can
run through a sane filter.
Yeah.
When
absolutely.
a person does the work for a while, a sane filter develops. It's like a goodness, and it in every thought has to meet the criteria of that goodness. And it's exposed, and you're not really doing anything. It's just a result of knowing how to deal with thoughts.